praising.
Yeah.
So
We'll see. It should work this time. We might be just hopping right into it. I'm not going to touch anything with this computer. Yeah, we're live now.
sick.
Oh, say, can you
Glasses.
see
Oh, I thought that was
Sparkly.
that Barbara Walters chick. I wasn't looking.
Oh, her voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
what so proudly we held at the twilight's last
from that wine box? Oh, you're doing
gleaming,
stuff.
whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
Oh,
There we go.
sorry, my
O'er
bad.
the ramparts we watched were so gallantly
So wait, did Night One not deserve Star Spangled Banner?
Oh, yeah, no, they did something else,
Oh, yeah,
didn't
what
they?
did they do?
It was... Or we talked through it. Oh, yeah, we talked through it, because remember the one guy didn't have his hand on his heart.
Did they do it?
They did something.
Something, yeah. It's funny, because the song used to,
Hey, something happened.
like, really mean something to me back in my status days.
Just did something.
What?
The song used to mean, what? Or is he talking to you?
Oh, I got an alert for something. I
Oh,
missed
okay.
it though.
I heard a little ding.
So somebody's here. I see one.
The home of the
Oh yeah, that's
So now
right.
I'm just
Because I
like-
said pandering and yeah, yeah, I remember now.
There they go with the guy with the gun.
I distinctly remember this.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right, yes. I can hear myself. Is that from...
You can hear yourself.
No, I mean, I think from there.
Oh.
The debate will
Yeah,
begin
maybe.
right after
Betcha.
this short break.
Right after this
Hey,
short
little
break.
Debbie's here.
Hi, little Debbie. Little Debbie in the house.
Oh, didn't hit that button.
Don't hit buttons, Dave. All right, let's open that box of wine.
Yeah, let's
Right?
do that.
Drones sure are smart.
Mute that for now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, if anybody's here, if you could comment, that'd be sweet. Let us know you're here.
Yes.
Sorry for the
I'm
delay.
sharing this all over Facebook.
Oh, great.
Thank you, because I'm having trouble.
Are you, babe?
There's just too much on my mind.
Oh.
Let's see, can I create an output projector? Can I do that without crashing?
I don't know. Let's turn on this fan, though. Under here. But I can't reach it because it's way under there.
David's here.
David's oh, little D3's here. He's like, I'm going to watch you
Nice.
guys upstairs. So don't forget you're watching your brother and sister, too.
I'm so upset that I can't do what I want to do.
I'm sad for
I need
you.
a bigger computer because my imagination is too big for the technology that I have.
What are you trying to do though?
I don't know. I don't understand why I can't do it. Like I have little video intros I built right before we did this. Christian, can you reach the fan under the desk? Since
The
I'm busy.
fan underneath the desk?
Oh, because it looks like
We
we're all
have-
sitting
yeah,
together.
so we have a fan under
Oh.
our desk.
Mary
Well, it's like
asked.
a feeder. It's a
Feeder heater.
It's a feeder heater. It's a heater fan, but it's just a fan right now because I don't have the heat on. But hot as always. I used Instacart today for the first time. In case anybody cares.
Really?
Yeah.
Instacart.
Because I needed to go to the store, but we had too many things to do, and I knew I wouldn't get there tomorrow because I won't have a vehicle because our van's getting inspected. And I was like, you know what? I got money off and like some other coupons, so I got like $15 off and free delivery for the first time. Totally
Excuse
worth it.
me.
Totally worth it. So it was really nice. Somebody just I was like, just leave the groceries on the step. I don't need to talk to anybody. It was pretty cool. And Little Debbie, I got it from Wegmans. Yep.
Yeah. It's just weird having somebody else do your shopping for you. Freaks me out.
Not me.
Is that any good?
Yeah. It is.
You.
Wow, hi.
Okay. So Celeste is the only person here? It says 6. A lot of quiet people.
Yeah. It's okay if they want to lurk.
All right,
And
I'm going to
watch.
attempt to share this.
Okay, but you gotta turn it on because
Oh,
now it's
yeah.
on. Now we get to listen to opening, I was gonna say arguments.
Quick review of the ground rules that your campaigns agreed to earlier this month to try to ensure a fair debate. As moderators, we will attempt to guide the discussion. You will each receive 1 minute to answer questions, 30 seconds for responses and rebuttals,
Yeah,
and
I'm watching
15 additional seconds if a moderator
normal.
asks for a clarification.
Yeah.
The
What do you want me
timing
to say?
lights will
I
remind
can
you
talk
of
about
these
anything.
limits.
That's
Please
fine.
respect them,
Okay.
and please refrain from interrupting other candidates during their allotted time. A candidate
Nice, that's a good
infringing on
idea.
another candidate's time
that?
will have
But she
his
used
or her
Instacart
time
last time when she went back on
reduced.
vacation,
We
so
again remind our
she
audience
didn't
inside
have
the
to go back
Fox
to work
Theater to
until-
try to remain
Oh,
silent
yeah.
when
Stay back to
candidates are
work.
actively debating. The
Hi,
candidates need to be
Ariane.
able to properly hear the questions and each other.
So I had to fix
Let's
that.
start
Oh, that's
with
cool.
opening statements. You will each
Glad to have you here.
receive 1 minute. Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Bear with us because it usually
please
takes us a
begin.
couple minutes to get into.
To the working people
character.
of America, tonight I bring you a message of hope. We can make change in this country. I know from personal experience it can be done. When I became the
Dude,
mayor
you're a
of the
loser.
nation's
Please
largest
stop.
city, I set us on a path of
I'm sorry,
Stop
he's
it.
just
Get
like
some
one of the
help.
least successful
we gave
governors.
pre-K to every child for free. We got rid of stop and frisk, and we lowered crime. We
that
raised
is
the minimum
quiet,
wage
isn't
to $15 an hour. Yes, it can be done.
Yeah, the actual
Now,
stream
tonight,
itself.
we have to get to the heart
From
and
the
soul of who
CNN?
we are
Yeah.
as Democrats. There are good
Might be a
people on
little
this
loud.
stage, but there are real differences. Joe Biden told wealthy donors
There we go.
that nothing fundamentally would change if he were president. Kamala Harris said she's not trying to restructure society. Well, I am. For years, working people have taken it on the chin in this country. For 40 years, the rich have gotten richer, and they paid less and less in taxes. It cannot go on this way. When I'm president, we will even up the score, and we will tax the hell out of the wealthy to make this a fairer country and to make sure it's a country that puts
supposed to be
working
taxed.
people first.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. Senator Michael Bennett.
Ooh.
I swear it just
Thank
flashed
you.
recorded
Last
up
week,
there.
Someone
saw
just
one of those
yelling in the
Trump
crowd.
signs.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard that. It's
America, love it. or
some
leave
Bernie
it.
boy probably. What's up, Jason
And it
Bryant?
was on the outside of a
Hi,
church.
hi, Jason.
I love America,
Oh yeah,
What?
this is okay.
and I know we can make it better.
Oh, new people.
Before coming to the Senate, I ran a large urban school district where most of the kids
I
live
hate
in
this guy's
poverty.
voice, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Those kids have
It's gonna be
exactly
easy
the
for
same
them, okay?
hopes that I have. Their
Listen,
parents
Kyle.
have exactly the same
All
hopes
you gotta
for
do
them
is vote for me.
that my parents had for me, and that Susan and I have for our 3 children.
Gift
But for the
supplies.
last 3 years,
Except
we've
we
been
go.
consumed by a president who frankly
okay.
doesn't give a
Weinstein.
damn about your kids or mine.
I like when they swear. You can tell they
Mr.
care.
President,
Yeah.
kids belong in classrooms,
No, they don't.
not cages.
Well, yeah, they don't belong there either.
Why not both?
yeah.
And they deserve something better than a bully in the White House.
With his eyebrows.
Let's end this 3-ring circus
They're a little heavy,
in
a little
Washington.
short. At least
And
that's-
let's make this election about reclaiming our
got the
future
caterpillars.
for our
I put a
kids
post
and
in
our
LMCG,
democracy.
but I don't know when it'll get
Empty
approved.
promises won't beat Donald Trump. I can.
Governor Jay Inslee.
Good evening. I'm Jay Inslee. I am running for president because the people in this room and the Democrats watching tonight are the last best hope for humanity on this planet.
Wow.
If we make defeating the
He's
climate
a
crisis
big
the top
environmentalist,
priority of the
so-
United
Oh.
States, we
I
will
don't
have
remember
a
this guy.
fighting chance
I think
to
he did
save
have glasses on
ourselves
last
and
time.
our children's future. It has to be our top
It's like
Possums are
priority.
cages. You're right.
My plan is one of national
it's
mobilization,
like Dauber. Remember
quickly
from
bringing
Coach?
100% clean energy
Yeah.
That's a
to
boomer
Americans,
reference.
creating 8 million
You guys
good
watch Coach?
union
Guys,
jobs.
watch Coach.
This is a big, bold, ambitious plan for clean energy for a big, bold, ambitious nation. Middle ground approaches
Oh, he's definitely a
are
football
not
coach.
enough. We must confront
yeah.
the fossil fuel industry.
That last
Well,
one.
he's a
I've
West
been on this
Coast
for 25
football
years.
coach hippie.
And now we know this. We're at a
Oh,
tipping
okay.
point. And whether
Is he
we
really a football
shrink
coach?
from this challenge
No,
or
I
rise to it
just roll them
is
with
the
your
vital
joke.
question of our
Because
time.
I would have believed
We
that.
Democrats believe we can still do big things in this nation. We can defeat the climate crisis. Let's get to work.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
My grandmother taught me that nothing's impossible. She spent 2 generations organizing women in upstate New York. My mother taught me nothing's
And,
impossible.
and Christian's head
She
is
was one of only
resting
3 women
right
in her
between her
law
breasts
school
right now.
class and worked with gay couples for basic rights.
Don't lean back and
If you want to get
Wait,
something
how do
done, just tell me it's
Other
impossible.
direction. There you go.
As a freshman senator, I was told you couldn't repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Even members of my own party told me it wasn't convenient.
They're small. It's
When
whatever.
are civil rights ever convenient? We stood up to the Pentagon and we got it done. Not impossible. 10 years
Move
ago,
these up so that you
I
can
was
see.
told
If you're talking to
couldn't
this-
pass
if
health
you're talking to
care
the
for our
Pentagon
9/11
about
first
civil rights, you have a
responders.
problem.
Those heroes who raised up the towers when others were coming down.
They'll get you straightened out.
Even when Congress turned its back on them, we kept fighting. Just last week, we made the 9/11 health bill permanent.
Permanent. That's the one that Rand Paul didn't like, right?
Probably.
Well, he it's not that he didn't like it.
Beating
He
Donald Trump.
just told everybody we're broke.
Definitely
You
not
know that?
impossible. We need a nominee who will take on the big fights and
Yeah,
win.
no, and
we
then the
need a
little
nominee
meme
who
came
doesn't
up.
know the
Nobody
meaning
liked
of
that.
impossible.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
Just talking about 9/11 politics is like a death
I love our
sentence.
country.
Oh yeah.
It's why I enlisted after
Oh, it's
9/11.
Tulsi.
I've served as a soldier for
Oh,
over
look,
16
it's why I
years.
enlisted after
Deployed
9/11.
twice to the Middle East and serve in Congress now for almost 7 years.
It's like that Family
I know
Guy
what
meme.
patriotism
Gets up
is,
on
and
stage.
I've known many
9/11,
great patriots
and everybody just-
throughout my life. And let me tell you this, Donald Trump
say it.
is not
all it takes.
behaving like a patriot. As president, I will bring this spirit of real patriotism
Okay.
to the White House,
There's actually
serving the
a
interests of
narrative
all Americans, not
inside of
just the rich
the
and powerful.
Democratic Party.
I'll fight
that
for
she's
our
a
rights
Russian
and
point.
freedoms of
Ooh.
all
Wow.
Americans, upholding
They don't like
these
her. Oh,
principles
she's
in
getting
our
the Ron Paul
Constitution
treatment.
upon which our country was founded.
Yeah, she's gonna get Ron
Fighting
Paul.
for justice and equality for all.
I mean, she's a commie,
fighting
and
for
she
every
should.
single American, regardless
Well,
of
What's up,
race
Aaron?
or
Totally
religion, as
deserves
we
it.
strive towards that
Hi,
more
Aaron.
perfect
But they all
union.
deserve it.
And as president, I'll bring
Yeah,
this
they
unifying
disappear.
spirit of love for
I just
country
moved it now.
and the soldiers'
paranoid now.
values of
Everything's going
service
wrong
above
for me
self
lately.
to the White House, truly leading a government of, by, and for the people.
Secretary Julian Castro.
Thank you, Dana, and good evening. You know, just a few days ago, we were reminded and inspired by our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico that
Oh,
public
look.
service is not fundamentally about any of
Hold
us.
the Hispanic
It's about you
card.
Puerto
and
Rico.
your family.
Them diamonds, Aaron Kentner.
I want you to know that if I'm elected president, that I will work hard every single day so that you and your family can have good health care when you need it, so that your children and grandchildren can get a good education, so
Wow.
that they can reach their
He's gonna
dreams,
become a doctor.
and that you can have good job opportunities, whether you live here in a big city
Take
like
care
Detroit
of every American.
or in a small town in our country.
I applaud that.
I know we have a wonderful, special nation,
Personally?
but that too many people are struggling. And I know what
How
that's
else are you
like
gonna
too.
give people health care?
I grew up with a single
Wouldn't want
mom
to steal it from somebody.
in a
That's
poor
slavery.
neighborhood. But like many of you, I don't want to make America anything again.
Every day.
I don't want us to go backward. We're not going back to the past. We're not going back where we came from. We're going to move forward.
Back to the future.
We're going to make America better than it's ever been.
back to the
in
future,
years to
Marty.
come. Let's do that together.
Wait, is he gonna make America great again?
Andrew Yang.
He's going to
That
make
was already
America
taken.
If you've heard
great
anything
again
about
still.
me and my campaign, you've heard that someone is running for president who wants to give every American $1,000 a month.
Got that sack.
I know this may sound like a gimmick, but this is a deeply American idea, from Thomas Paine to
Deeply
Martin
American.
Luther King
Hand out
to
money.
today. Let me tell you why we need to do it and how we pay for it.
Thomas
Why do we need to
Paine.
do it? We already automated away
Okay,
millions of manufacturing jobs. And chances are your job could be
Sounds like
next.
somebody tagged
If you don't
John,
believe
but
me, just ask an auto worker
can't
here
tag
in
her.
Detroit.
Yeah.
How do we pay
his
for it?
boy.
Raise your hand in the
Oh,
crowd
you know what?
if
I
you've
should
seen
be-
stores closing where
Okay.
you live.
I'm gonna work for
It is not just
Okay.
you. Amazon is closing 30% of
Now that I
America's
know it's
stores and
actually
malls
working,
and
I
paying
have faith
zero
in
in
it for a minute.
taxes
For a
while
second.
doing it. We need to do the opposite of much of what we're doing right now, and the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. So let me share the math.
That's the opposite.
$1,000 a month for every adult would be $461
The opposite
million
of Donald
Is
Trump.
every
Asian
month
really
right
the
here in
opposite of-
Detroit alone.
I guess so.
The automation of our jobs
I
is
mean,
the central
they're
challenge
the
facing us
experts on
today.
this, so-
It is why Donald Trump is our president, and any politician not addressing it is failing the American people.
Senator Cory Booker.
Wow.
Thank you, Dana.
Yang
Last
Gang
week,
is in the
the
house.
President
This guy.
of the United States
your
love this
boy.
guy.
attacked an American
His eyes are so crazy.
city,
Dude,
calling it a
Spartacus, bro.
disgusting, rat-infested, rodent mess. We need a nation that understands that these tired old
Ooh.
language.
Someone's
This is interesting.
Stand by, Senator.
I will stand by.
Please stand by.
Spicy.
What are they?
Fire somebody. Vince Slato. Who?
Heckler subtitles, right?
Heckler subtitles. That's what it
Heckler
is.
subtitles would be awesome.
Can somebody clarify?
Please continue, Senator.
They wouldn't.
Thank you
they
very
wouldn't
much.
Put that in the subtitles.
Donald Trump from
They wouldn't
Charleston
dignify it.
to Baltimore to even the border is using the tired old language of demagogues, of fearmongers, of racists
they're saying
to try to
spicy
divide
mayo.
our country against itself. We know who Donald Trump is. But in this election, the question is, who are we as a people? We have serious problems in America. We have deep wounds and seriously,
From the government.
deeply rooted challenges.
Okay, well, see, now I
We
have to know what they're
desperately
saying.
need to heal as a
That has
nation
to
and
be on
move
Twitter.
forward.
Right.
Because we know in this country that our fates are united, that we have a common destiny. The call of this election is the call to unite in common cause and common purpose. That's how we will beat Donald Trump. That's how I will beat Donald Trump. And as your president, that's how I will
This
govern
guy would
and
get
move us
destroyed
forward
in a debate versus Donald Trump.
Senator Kamala Harris.
That's going to be
This is
fun.
an
watching
inflection moment
once
in the history
Donald-
of our
Oh
country.
yeah, that's going to be
We
even
all
better. We got to make
This
sure.
is a moment in time.
I'll have a new
that is
computer by the
requiring
time
us
those
each
debates
as
come.
individuals and collectively to look in a mirror and ask a question. That question being, who are we? And I think most of us know that part of the answer to that question is we are better than this. So this then becomes a moment
This
that we
then there
must
does.
fight for the best of who we are. And fight, of course, we will. And this is not a new fight for us as Americans. We have always been prepared to fight for our ideals. We have always been a nation that fights for the best
Really
of who
saying
we are.
anything, though. You know, she's
And I'll
saying
tell you,
those
I come
feel-good
from
words,
fighters.
and
My
people
parents
just
met
like
when they
to
were
hear
active in
that
the civil
stuff,
rights
like,
movement. My sister Maya and I
although
drove.
nobody
we
really
grew up
asked the
surrounded by a
question,
bunch of
but-
adults. We spent full time marching and shouting
Still.
about this thing called justice. And I am prepared to march with you, to fight with you for the best of who we are, and to successfully prosecute the case of 4 more years of Donald Trump and against him.
Oversized.
Vice President Joe Biden.
Tonight, I think Democrats are expecting some engagement here. I expect
Somebody
we'll
wants
get
sniffed.
it. I'm running for president to restore the soul of this country. You know, we have a president, as everybody's acknowledged here, every day is ripping at the social fabric of this
Oh,
country.
who is that?
But no one
Fire
man has the
Pan
capacity
Taleo.
to rip that
I don't know
apart.
who that is.
It's too strong.
I don't know the
We're
names.
too good. Just look at this stage, made up of very diverse people from diverse backgrounds. Went on to be mayors, senators, governors, congresswomen, members of the
Dude,
cabinet.
sorry, I'm reading
Yes,
Twitter.
even a
That's
vice president. Mr. President, this is America. And we are strong and great
this debate's
because of this
boring anyways.
diversity, Mr. President.
Catch up on
They-
that.
Not in
it's
spite
opening
of it, Mr.
statements.
President.
There's nothing good in
So,
this.
Mr. President, let's get something straight. We love it. We are not leaving it. We are
Oh,
here
the
to stay, and
NYPD
we're
officer
certainly
with
not
strip
going to leave
searches.
it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fire that guy. Or
Thank
girl,
you,
or
Vice
whatever.
President Biden.
Fire them all.
I want to start the debate with one of the top priorities for Democratic voters, and that is health care. Senator Harris, this week you released a new health care plan, which would preserve private insurance and take 10 years to phase
involved
in.
with Eric Garner.
Vice
Yeah,
President
fuck that dude.
Biden's campaign calls your plan,
that David
quote,
might be
a
watching
have it
this.
every which way approach, and says it's just part of a confusing pattern of equivocating about your health care stance. What do you say to that?
Well, they're probably
it's
confused because
Eric
they've not
Garner
read
guy.
it. But the reality is that I have been spending time in this campaign listening to American
messing with her
families,
mic.
listening to
messing
experts,
with her mic?
listening to healthcare providers. And what I came away with is a very clear understanding that I needed to create a plan that was responsive to the needs of the American people, responsive to their needs, understanding that insurance companies have been jacking up the prices for far too long, that American families have to be held down by deductibles and co-pays and premiums that can cause them bankruptcy. I listened to the American families who said
Well, I mean,
4
a-
years is
a
just not
used
enough to
Ford
transition
Taurus
into
can
this
cause
new
you
plan.
bankruptcy
So I
if you don't have
devised a plan where it's going to be 10 years of a transition.
knows I had
that.
I listened to American families who said,
That
I
was a
want an
big money
option
sink.
that will be under your Medicare system that allows a private plan. So I designed a plan where, yes, responsive to the needs of American families, there will be a public
Why
plan
are
under my
insurance
plan for
prices so
Medicare
high?
and a private plan under my
Intervention.
plan for Medicare. Because the
Intervention.
bottom line is this.
And everything.
We must agree that access to health care must be a
they
right
had Biden
and
a
not
minute
just a
ago.
privilege of those who can afford it. And in
He's
America
here.
today, far too many people,
He's
in
off
fact,
camera
30
sniffing
million
people.
people
Thank you,
are
Senator.
going without access to health care.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Biden, your response.
Well, my response is that the senators had several plans so far. And anytime someone tells you you're going to get something good in 10 years, you should wonder why it takes 10 years. If you notice, there's no talk about the fact that the plan in 10 years will cost $3 trillion. You will lose your employer-based insurance.
That is a
And in
nice
fact,
suit,
you know, this is the single most important issue facing the public. And to be very blunt and to be very straightforward, you can't beat President Trump with double talk on this plan.
Christian, what do you think about his
Your
knot
response,
and his
Senator
tie?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Vice President Biden, you're just simply
Pretty
inaccurate
weak, huh?
in what you're
It's
describing. The reality is that our plan will bring health care
He is.
to
Is he still
all
here?
Americans under a Medicare for All system. Our plan will allow people to start signing up on the first day. Babies will be born into our plan,
Christian,
and
you
right
still here?
now 4 million babies almost are born every
I
day
lost
in America, or every year in America.
He's
Under
frozen.
our plan,
He is frozen.
we will ensure that everyone has access to health care. Your plan, by contrast, leaves out almost 10 million Americans. So I think that you should really think about what you're saying, but be reflective and understand that the people of America want access to health care and do not want costs to be their barrier to getting it.
I like
Senator
how
Harris,
Christian's
thank you.
just lost
Vice
in
President
thought.
Biden, your response.
The plan, no matter how you cut it, costs $3 trillion when it is in fact employed. Number one, 10 years from now, after 2 terms of the senator being president, after her time. Secondly, it will require middle-class taxes to go up, not down. Thirdly, it will
At least it's a good
eliminate
freeze frame for him,
employer-based
you know?
insurance. And fourthly,
I was like, wow, he
what
didn't hear me
happens
at all.
in the meantime?
I'm like, wait, he's not blinking.
I'd like to respond. First of all, the cost of doing nothing is far too expensive. Second, we are now paying $3 trillion a year for health care in
let him
America.
just sit there for a
Over the
minute.
next
Okay.
10 years, it's
Just
probably
don't tell
going to be
anybody if they
$6
come in.
trillion. We must act. My plan is about immediately allowing
Christian's
people to
just
sign up
intently
and
watching
get into
the
Yes.
coverage.
stream.
Yeah,
Right now in
it's a good
America, we have
freeze frame.
seniors who every day, millions of
Could have
seniors,
been worse.
are
Could have
going
been,
into the
like,
Medicare
yawning
system.
or something.
Yeah.
And they are getting full coverage and the kind of
No,
coverage
it's
they
perfect.
need. All people should
I hope
have
his internet's
access
okay.
to health care, and cost should
Thank
not
you,
be their
Senator
barrier.
Harris. Mayor de Blasio, let's bring you in here. What's your response?
Thank you. I don't know what
Yeah,
the
we
vice
seem to be
president and
doing okay.
senator are talking about. The folks I talk to about health insurance say that their health insurance isn't working for them. There's tens of millions of Americans who don't even have health insurance, tens of millions more who have health insurance they can barely make work because of the copays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses. There's this mythology that somehow all these folks are in love with their insurance in America. What I hear from union members and from hardworking middle-class people is they wish they had better insurance. And they're angry at private insurance companies that skim all the profits off the top and make it
Oh, he's
impossible
back.
Oh,
for
good,
everyday
okay.
people to get coverage like mental health care,
Thank you,
dental
Mr. Mayor.
care, the
He never
things that would
really
be
left
full
them.
coverage
Thank
for all
you, Mr.
Americans.
Mayor.
I'm
Vice
saying,
President
he's still
Biden,
Oh,
you
that's
just
right.
heard Mayor de Blasio. He said in the past that Democrats who want to keep the private insurance
there it is.
industry
That's what I'm
are
supposed to
defending a healthcare system that is not working. What's your response?
My response is
Let's see if he comes back to
Obamacare
life.
is working. The way to build
Oh,
this
no, he
country
just totally moved.
is to build on Obama.
Okay.
Go back
Back.
and take back.
It was
all
a good
the
freeze
laws
frame
took
for you,
away,
though.
Provide a public
Big
option,
Christian.
meaning every single person in America would be able to buy into option if they didn't like their employer plan, or if they're on Medicaid, they'd automatically be in the plan. It would take place immediately, it would move quickly, and it would ensure the vast majority of Americans. In the meantime, what happens? Did anybody tell you how much their plans cost? My plans cost $750 billion. That's what it costs.
Just for your
not
plan?
$30 trillion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice
That's
President.
bad
Senator
insurance.
Gillibrand,
My
you
plan
support
only
Medicare
costs
for all. How do you
the-
feel about Senator Harris?
Oh, that's for
Median
everybody.
price.
To call her health proposal Medicare for all, when it includes a far more significant role for private insurance than the bill
Well,
you
at least I'm not
co-sponsored.
the only one screwing
I
up.
think for the viewers in the audience right now, they're at risk of losing the forest through the trees.
Oh,
Because the
geez.
truth is,
Yeah, I
healthcare
just,
in America should be a right. When I
don't
was a
know
young
what
mother
happened.
and had Theo
I
as an
just-
infant, he had an allergic reaction
This
to
new room
eggs,
has a
and
new
his
internet
whole
setup,
body turned
and
red and
I
puffy.
should
I
have
had to rush
switched
him to the
over
emergency room.
to the
My heart
other
is
setup that I
palpitating
have.
because
That's
I'm
out my
worried
Wi-Fi.
that his throat will close.
But
I am
I
not
forgot to do that.
worried about not
It's,
having an
we-
insurance card
Yeah.
or a credit card in my wallet.
Fine.
I know
Let's
whatever
see.
they're going to
Yes.
prescribe, whether it's an EpiPen or an inhaler, I can afford it. The truth about healthcare in America today is people can't afford it. They cannot afford it. And the insurance companies for these plans that rely on insurance
need more
companies, I'm
intervention.
sorry,
Yes.
they're for-profit
To make it more
companies.
affordable.
They have
Yeah.
an obligation to their shareholders. They pay their CEO millions of dollars. They have to have quarterly profits. They have fat in the system that's real, and it should be going to healthcare. So let's not
You should all
lose the
become
forest for the
senators.
trees. And last, let's not forget what the Republicans are doing.
get paid
Because
some
the
good
truth
money
is, the
for lots of
Republicans and
vacation
Trump,
time.
their whole goal is to
Yeah,
take
yeah.
away your health care,
Thank you.
to make it harder for you to afford it,
Thank you,
even if you have
Senator
pre-existing
Gillibrand. Senator
conditions.
Harris,
Such a lie.
In response to Senator Biden about the Affordable Care Act, it is important that you understand that our Medicare for All plan has actually, by the architect of the Obama Affordable Care Act, been described as one of the most effective ways to bring health care to all. Kathleen Sebelius has endorsed our plan as being something that will get us to where we need to
She
go.
lost me when she said the
In terms
name.
of the point that Senator Gillibrand is raising, I couldn't agree more. Senator Biden, your plan will keep and allow insurance companies to remain with status quo, doing business as usual. And that's going to be about jacking up copays, jacking up
Thank you,
deductibles.
Senator.
It will still be the
Thank you,
situation
Senator
that people
Harris,
going
Vice
to an
President
While we're
emergency
talking about
room
jacking.
have to come out $5,000.
Can I
My
break in here?
plan makes the limit of copay to be $1,000 because we further support the ability to buy into the Obamacare plan. Secondly, the idea that this is somehow a bad idea. No one has to keep their private insurance. But if they would like their insurance, they should be able to keep it.
Where have I
Nothing
heard
is
that
demanded
before?
in my plan that there be private insurance. It says
I think I've
if the 160
heard this
million
before.
people
Yeah.
who have it say they
you
like
like your
their
doctor,
employer
you can
insurance,
keep your
they
doctor.
should have
Right,
the right
right.
to have it.
Oddly
If they
familiar.
don't, they can buy into the Biden plan, which is Obamacare.
Thank you,
with
Mr. Vice President. Thank you. Senator Booker, let me
Did you
bring
say
you
what
in
is
here.
Obamacare?
You say you support Medicare for all. You also say you are not going to pull private health insurance from more than 150 million Americans in exchange for a government plan.
Like
But that's
again.
what
It does.
Medicare for all would do. So how do you square that?
Well, first of all, let me just say that the person that's enjoying this debate most right now is Donald Trump, as we pit Democrats
Shut
against
up.
each other.
Oh my
While
God,
he is
I'm
working
sorry.
right now to take
God, I hate
away
this guy.
Americans' health care. There's a healthcare case working through the
He's
system
fun
that's
to
going
watch,
to gut
though.
the Affordable Care Act
Something fun
and
about him.
actually gut protections on pre-existing conditions. And so I was raised by two civil rights parents
His
who
eyes-
told
his
me
eyes
to
are fun.
always
He's
keep
got
your
fun
eyes
eyes.
on
Fun eyes.
You don't know what they're
prize.
gonna do.
And that is that in the United States of America, every Democrat should stand with the belief that everyone should have access to health care, that it's a human right. And how we get there, it has to be to end
It's a
this broken
human
system because
right.
we are on our way in just
Civil
a
rights
handful of
parent,
years of literally spending 20% of our economy, one out of every $5 spent on healthcare. And we spend more than every other nation on everything from MRIs to insulin drugs, multiple more than other countries. Multiple more than other countries. And so you want to know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work to get us to a point where Medicare for all, where everyone is covered. But this pitting against progressives, against moderates, saying one is unrealistic and the other doesn't care enough, that to me is dividing our party and demoralizing us in face of the real enemy here. And I'm going to keep fighting for that.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Congressman
Look,
Gabbard, what's
it's
your
also
response?
important to realize that
The reality
the U.S.
is right
is
now
the
we don't
fourth
have a healthcare
highest,
system.
second
We have a
highest
sick care system, and
average
there are
annual
far too many
wages.
people in this country
So-
who are
Oh.
sick
Just throwing
and
that out
unable to
there.
get the care that they need because they cannot
need more.
afford it. So at the core of this problem is the fact that big insurance companies and big pharmaceutical companies who've been profiting off the
Gatorade
backs of
with
sick people
rum from a
have had a
mason
seat at the
jar.
table writing this legislation. Now,
Hey,
Kamala Harris
we're
just
not on
talked
Facebook.
about
Are we allowed to say
Kathleen
white trash?
Sebelius, who helped write her bill. This
Sure.
just pointed to the fatal flaw in her proposal.
Tulsi Bay.
Sebelius works for Medicare Advantage, private insurance company who will stand to profit under her plan.
People say all sorts of shit on
If
Facebook.
we're seeking
for
to
no
really
reason.
reform our healthcare system, we've got to shut out big insurance and big
Oh, yeah.
pharma
Filthy
out
Frank.
of the drafting process so they cannot
Gotta
continue
keep
to profit
Filthy
off the
Frank in
backs of the
mind.
sick people
Oh,
in this
yeah. He said
country
some stuff.
who are searching and in
That's
desperate
true.
need of care.
Senator Harris, your response?
Well, unfortunately,
Bear trap.
Representative Gabbard got it wrong. Kathleen Sebelius did not write my plan. She endorsed it as being one of the plans that is the best to get us
That's
to a
a
place
lie.
where everyone is going to have access
That's
to
a-
health care in America.
that's a lie.
And when we talk about this
You're
again,
lying.
I'm going to go back to Vice
Why are
President
you
Biden.
still lying?
Because your plan does not cover everyone in America. By
This is
your
what we needed,
staff's
was somebody
and
who
your
actually knows
own
what's going on.
definition, 10 million people.
I'm sorry,
as many as
she's
10
just sitting
million
here
people
like making
will
stuff
not have
up,
access
and
to
she's
health
just
care.
attacking
And
poor
in
Joe Biden.
2019
Joe
in
Biden's
America,
like, fuck
for
off,
a Democrat
lady.
to be running for president with a plan that does not
Like,
cover
I can't
everyone.
say anything against you because
I
you're
think
black.
it's without
That's exactly what he's thinking right
Our
now, and
plan
it's
covers
tragic.
everyone
Senator.
and gives people choice.
Thank you,
Wow.
Senator Vice
I have a
President
history
Biden.
with you people.
We'll cover everyone. Number one. Number
Tragic,
two,
dude.
the fact
Like,
is
he's
that
being
my plan
crushed
also
by
calls
his
for
own
controlling
party's
drug prices.
intersectionality.
The biopharma is now where things are going to go. It's no longer chemicals. It's about all these breakthroughs we have with the whole, dealing with the whole, immune system. And what we have to do now is we have to have a form that sits in the HHS and says, as you develop a drug, you got to come to us and
Yes.
decide what
turn
you
his
can
back to
sell
her.
it for.
Yeah.
We will set the price. And secondly, it says that you cannot raise that price beyond
really,
the cost
like,
of
you'd be like,
inflation
if
from this
if I
point
sniff
on.
her,
To
wouldn't that
end
mean
the-
I'm not racist?
I want to bring in Senator Bennett.
I
Last
don't-
night on this stage, one of your
if he
Democratic
keeps his
rivals
performance
suggested
up, he's
that
not
running
gonna
on
recover.
Medicare for all would
not
get
gonna
Donald Trump
make it very
reelected.
far.
Do you agree with that, sir?
I agree that it makes it much more likely. Unlike others on this stage, I've been crystal clear where I've been for a decade through two tough races in Colorado. I believe we should finish the job we started
Those
with the
pursed
Affordable
lips.
Care Act with a public option that gives everybody in this audience the chance to pick for their family whether they want private insurance or public insurance. It requires drug companies to be negotiated with by Medicare, and it provides competition.
King,
That is totally
Lord,
different
King.
from the plan that Senator Warren
Hi.
and Senator
Tonight.
Sanders and
What's up,
Senator
bro?
Harris have proposed, which would
Hey,
make
mark my
illegal
words. This will be the last
employer-based
election
health
that
insurance
any
in this
Democrat
country
offers
and massively
the
raise
ability
taxes
to
on the
purchase
middle
private
class to the
insurance.
tune of
I can see
$30
that.
trillion,
Oh, okay.
as Joe Biden said.
He's sucking
We
on
don't
lemon
need to
drops.
do that. It doesn't make sense for us.
They've
to take
officially
away
pushed the
insurance from
Overton
half
window
the
so
people
far
in this
over
room
that to
and-
be a
and put
progressive in the
huge taxes
future,
on almost
you're going to have to be
everybody
like
in this
just a
room
full-blown
when we can
AOC
pass a
running for
public option,
president.
Trust
Wow.
the American people to make the right decision and have universal health care in this country in 2
Private
years,
health
not
care? What are you,
10
a
years.
fascist?
Secretary Castro, I want to bring you in.
I
You're-
can
you're-
respond.
You're
Yeah.
I'll come to you right
You
after
a
Secretary
Nazi?
Castro. Secretary Castro.
Well,
Private
I know that
healthcare,
this is something
the
very
ability to
personal
make a
for
choice
all
for
Americans.
yourself.
I grew up with a grandmother that had diabetes, and I watched as her condition got worse and worse. That whole time she had
Oh, King
Medicare.
Blue Right Night.
I want to strengthen Medicare
Blue
for the
Right
people
Night.
who are on it,
It's your
and then
boy
expand it to anybody
It's
who
your boy
wants it.
Robert.
I also believe, though, that
Oh,
if somebody
snap,
has
it's
a
your
private health
boy.
insurance plan that is strong, that they want to hold on to,
Ah,
that they
yes,
should be able to
okay.
do that. What I don't believe is that the profit motive of big pharma or
I
big
think I
insurance
have like 3 or
companies
4
should
YouTube
ever
accounts.
determine in
I
our
can't-
great
I
nation
know I
whether
can't
somebody
get into
gets
one of
health care or
them.
not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Secretary Castro. Senator Harris, Senator Bennett had
Password.
suggested that you support banning employer-based health insurance. Is that true?
Well, first of all, with all due respect to
Now,
my
how
friend
do you
Michael
feel about
Bennett,
that, separating health
my
insurance
plan
from
does not offer anything that is illegal.
employment?
What it does is it separates the employer from health care, meaning that
He's
where
listening.
you work will not be
I kinda like
the kind of health care you get will not be a function of where you work. I have met so many Americans who stick
Glad
to
you're
a
back,
job that they
Aaron.
do not like, where they
Yeah,
are not
mine's
prospering,
running.
simply because they need the health care that that employer provides. It's time that we separate employers from the kind of health care people get. And under my plan, we
Get on
do
my
that.
level.
As it relates to the insurance and the pharmaceutical
Senator.
companies, who will not be called in and who will not be taken to task by Senator
Pretty
Biden
sure
or
he's
Senator
amazing,
Bennett's
Senator,
plan,
actually.
we will do that.
Senator Bennett, I want to bring you back.
Senator Harris is my friend as well, but I have to say, if we can't admit tonight what's in the plan, which is banning employer-based insurance, we're not going to be able to admit that when Donald Trump is accusing Democrats of doing that as well. We need to be honest about what's in this plan. It bans employer-based insurance and taxes the middle class to the tune of $30 trillion. Do you
Wow,
know how
that's a
much
big
that
number.
is? That is 70% of what the government will collect in taxes over the next 10 years.
Thank
We
you,
don't
Senator.
need to do that.
Governor
we can
Inslee, I'm
have
gonna
a
come to you in a
public
second, but
option
I
and
do
have
want to.
universal health care in this country.
I do want to bring in Senator Harris because he just
70%.
suggested you were not being honest.
We cannot keep with the Republican talking points on this. You got to stop. The reality is
Shut
that
up.
under my Medicare for All plan,
liar.
yes, employers are not going to be able to dictate
No
the
one's
kind
gonna
of
call her
health
out
care
on
that
it
their
because she's the
employees
front
get.
runner and
They
she's
will
Kamala
be able
Harris
to make
and
that
she's
decision.
amazing and she's
Private
perfect, but she's
insurance
lying.
companies and private
lot.
carriers, if they
I think that
comply
guy was
by our
starting to
rules and
piss
play
me
by
off.
our
a little
rules,
bit anyway.
will be able to offer those employees health care coverage
Like,
under
it's
a
one thing
private
to make
Medicare
empty
plan, or they
promises,
can
it's
have the
another thing
option
to
of
get
a
on
public
stage and
Medicare
just
plan.
pull a Donald
But
Trump
it is
and just lie about
misleading to
Lie
suggest
about everything, yeah.
that employees
Yeah.
want what their employer is offering only. They want choice, and my
you.
plan gives
Little
that to
D3.
them.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Inslee, I want to bring you in. You recently
The
signed
fact that she would
a
even
public option
insinuate
into
her
law, which
plan
allows
doesn't
Washington
ban
state residents
business
to
insurance
purchase
is
a
it like
state-backed plan if they want to, but this
she's
may
literally
only
just pandering
save
to
families
idiots
in
at this
Washington
point.
state as
People
little
who will
as
just literally
5%
watch this
off
debate
premiums.
and
Is
do no other
5%
research.
really the
Just
kind of
unfortunately,
relief that the
a lot of
American people need?
No, we need universal coverage, and I'm proud of our state that has done less squabbling and actually getting things done. And I am proud that we were the first state to offer a publicly sanctioned offer.
Since no one cares about this guy,
Health care to
I
our
love
citizens.
this narrative that
I'm
they're
also
pushing
proud that we didn't stop there.
about
We're also
this whole
the
like
first state that
half
is
the
taking
half
care
the
of our
team's like,
elders,
oh,
our
we shouldn't
seniors.
fight,
We have
and the
a
other half of the team is
looming
like, I'm gonna
retirement
murder
wave
you in
coming
your
up.
sleep.
I'm proud that our state has made them
Like there's no
eligible
middle
to
ground.
retire
No.
with dignity. I'm also proud of this, and I think we
I
need to
saw
talk
hand
more
going up
about
on the
this as
side
Democrats.
next to him.
It is time to
Yeah.
give people adequate mental health care in this country. And we are we've had some success in integrating mental health with physical health. There's no
He's
reason
gone,
we should
dang it.
distinguish between your physiological and your mental health. And the last thing
Oh,
we're
no,
doing,
I
I think
couldn't
it's
go
very
high enough.
instructive for the nation. We know we're being
Okay.
eaten alive by pharmaceutical costs. We have had one of, if not the
I
most
got Bernie
innovative way to
Sanders.
drive down pharmaceuticals
Bernie
for
was
life-saving medications
really good at raising his
in the
hands high.
United States. That's a record of Washington State.
Or
I'd like
out,
to take
maybe.
to
It's more
Washington,
like
D.C.
Thank you.
and
Thank you,
high.
Governor Inslee. Mr. Yang, I want to
there we
bring
go,
you in.
this
You
guy.
support a
Yang time.
Medicare for all system. How do you respond to Governor Inslee?
on that one.
Right.
Well, I just want to share a story. When I told my
Ariane,
wife I was running for
it
president,
was,
you know the first question
I
she asked
believe
me?
in like
What are we
2016,
gonna do
it was
about our
half of
healthcare?
Americans who
That's
had
a true
health
story,
insurance
and it's
had it
not
through
just
their
us.
employers.
Democrats are talking about healthcare in the wrong way. As someone who's run a business,
Or
I can tell you
60%.
flat out our current
One of
healthcare
the-
system makes it harder to hire. It makes it harder to treat people well and give them benefits and treat them as full-time employees. It makes it harder to
Makes it
switch
harder to
jobs,
hire
as Senator
because of
Harris just
laws.
said, and it's certainly a lot harder to start a
And
business.
harder to switch
If
jobs
we say,
because of
look, we're
laws.
going to get healthcare off the
And
backs
businesses
of
because of
businesses
laws.
and families, then watch American entrepreneurship recover and bloom. That's the argument we should be making to the
Yeah,
American
if we just
people.
give people
Thank
money,
you,
all
Mr.
of
Yang.
these barriers
Mayor de
to entry
Blasio.
magically disappear.
I don't
Right.
understand why
Anybody can do
Democrats
anything
on
they
this
want.
stage are
They got money.
fear-mongering about universal health care. It makes no sense. Ask the American people. They are sick of what the pharmaceutical companies are doing to them.
Hey, Bill
Ask
de
them what they
Blasio,
feel
your
about the
state
health
sucks.
insurance companies. They feel it's holding back their families because they
We're
can't
literally
get the
about to
coverage they
go
need.
into
They
the
get a lot of
red
no's.
again.
They don't
You
get a lot
can't
of
raise
help from
taxes
health
because all
insurance
the rich
companies.
people are
Why
leaving.
are we not
And
going
you
to
can't
be
raise
the party
taxes
that
on the
does
poor
something
people because then
bold
they'll all
that
starve.
says We don't need to be dependent on private insurance. We can have a system that actually covers everyone. You know what?
Between a rock and a
Donald
hard
Trump
place.
Yeah,
won this
sounds
state
like
of
it.
Michigan by saying he was going to disrupt the status
Just print
quo.
more.
How about we be the party that's going to
but
disrupt the
his
status quo?
state
for working
legislature
people?
won't let him
Mr.
cut
Mayor,
anything.
Just a 15-second point of clarification.
Because they're like, we don't cut things, we just spend money.
Certainly,
He's
with
like,
all
"Well, we
due
don't have
respect to
any."
Senator Bennett, what he's saying is absolutely inaccurate about taxes. Americans right now are paying so much money for their health care. Ask people about the reality of premiums,
This is not true.
deductibles,
This is another lie.
co-pays, out-of-pocket expenses. That's
Like,
worse
oh,
than
it's
any
only going to
tax.
cost you
And
this
people
much
are paying
money
that
if you
right
pay
now.
it
Thank you,
through
Mr. Mayor.
taxes.
Senator Bennett.
It's not true. It's only true for like the lowest percentage of income earners,
to do with
like poverty line
Republican
income
talking
earners
points
in
or
America.
the pharmaceutical industry. This has to do with having faith in the American people that they can make the right decisions
They're about
I'm
to
for
sorry,
their
but we
families,
can't
and they
do
can
every
choose
universal
a public
legislation
option.
off of
Bernie
what's
Sanders,
going on
who
at
said
poverty
last
line.
night he wrote the damn bill, and he did just like
That
I
other
wrote
dude
the
was
damn
too
public
intense, they had to
option
take him off
bill,
the camera.
is the guy who says it'll cost $32 trillion and that we're going to have to raise those taxes to pay for it. He says that. Republicans don't say it. Don't try to distract from the
Thank you,
truth.
Senator
He's the
Bennett.
male
Can't
Dorothy
hide
on
from the
uh,
truth.
I want to let
Golden
Mayor
Girls.
de Blasio.
Look at it. Look at the knife in
Senator,
him.
if we as Democrats say we're done with private insurance that has only hurt the American people in so many ways,
That's what
we're going to give
B.
them
Arthur.
something that works for their families,
This
full
is a
coverage
$2
that they can
trillion
depend on.
industry.
If we
Male
say that,
B.
then
Arthur.
there's an
Who
election.
in
The American
America?
people
Although
get
Male
to
B.
decide.
Arthur
The
probably
ultimate
was the Male
choice,
B.
Senator,
Arthur.
is an election. And this should be the party that stands for universal health care and
Sorry, I
says
went off on a
we're
Golden
not
Girl
going to
thing
accept
for a
anything
second.
less. Right now in America, so many people don't have the health care they need. That is a fact. Tens of millions of people, including middle-class
Mr.
people.
Mayor.
Give them a
Thank
chance
you,
to make
Mr.
that
Mayor.
decision through an election.
Vice President Biden, your response, sir.
This is not a Republican talking point. The Republicans are trying to kill Obamacare.
The
Obamacare
fact
took
that
care
we
of
would
20 million
literally
people right off the bat.
completely
100 million people
restructure
with
a $2
pre-existing
trillion
conditions.
part
And
of
in
our
fact, what we
economy
got is a public option
over
that
a
in fact would allow anybody to
51-49
buy in.
majority
No one has
is
to keep the private
mind-blowing.
insurance. They can buy into this plan, and they can buy into it with a $1,000 deductible and never have
Wow,
to
they
pay
are
more
really
than
harping on this
8.5% of their income when they do it. And if they don't have any money, they get in free.
Healthcare's really
so this
important
idea is a bunch of
to
malarkey.
Democrats.
What we're talking about
Healthcare,
here.
guns,
The fact of the matter
and
is,
race
the fact of the
relations.
matter is that there will be a deductible. It will be a deductible in their paycheck. Bernie acknowledges it. Bernie acknowledges it. $30 trillion has to ultimately be paid. And I don't know what math you do in New York. I don't know what math you do anywhere in California, but I tell you, that's a lot of money. And there will be a deductible. The deductible will be out of your paycheck because that's what will be required.
Senator Harris, I want to bring you in here. Your response.
Yeah,
Here it
let's
is,
talk
folks.
about math.
The last
Let's talk about
conservative
math.
Democrat
Let's talk about the
dying
fact
on this
that
stage.
the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies last year alone profited $72 billion. And that is on the backs of American families. And under your
Let's
plan,
just do some quick
status
math because I don't
quo,
care about
you
her.
do nothing
$72 billion
to hold
a year
the
in
insurance
profit,
companies
over
to
$32
task
trillion
for what
over
they
10
have
years.
been
So
doing to American
$72
families. In
billion
America
over 10
today,
years is
a
$720
diabetes
billion.
patients, 1 in 4
So you
cannot
literally have
afford their
not done
insulin.
a
In
30
America today,
of their
for
profit.
those people who have overdosed from an opioid, there is a syringe that costs $4,000 that will save their life. It is immoral, it is
Thank you, Senator.
untenable, and it must
Sure,
change
it's
with
fine.
Medicare for all.
It's
Vice
immoral.
President Biden,
It's
your
untenable.
response.
None of
Real
it is.
Hit those
I am the
fields.
only plan that limits the ability of insurance companies to charge unreasonable prices, flat out, number one. Number two, we should put some of these insurance executives who totally oppose my plan in jail for the 9 billion opioids they sell out
Send
there.
them to a
they
camp.
are misrepresenting the American people what need to be done. And lastly, here's the deal. The deal is, let's figure out how
Whoa.
this works. We immediately are able to cover
Whoa.
everybody who wants to get off of their insurance plan they don't like, no matter what one it is,
That's
and
a
buy
big
into
claim.
a Medicare option. And they can buy the gold plan, and they're not going to have to pay. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you. Let's move now to immigration,
Oh, yeah, somebody
please.
else said that.
Secretary Castro, you think it should no
Senator
longer be a
Mason.
crime to cross the U.S. border illegally. President Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, Jay Johnson, whom you served with, says that is a public declaration that the border is, quote, effectively open to all.
Who hasn't gone
How is he
talking?
wrong?
Christian's dying over
I'm just
there.
enjoying
That
Christian's
question,
reaction.
you know,
What the hell's Caleb?
if you elect me president, you're not electing me to follow. You're electing me to lead. And open borders is a
Suicidal
right-wing
reactions
talking
reminded me
point.
of Caleb.
And frankly, I'm disappointed that some folks, including some folks on this stage, have taken the bait. The only way that we're going to guarantee that we don't have family separations in this country again is to repeal Section 1325 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. That is the law that this president, this administration is using to incarcerate migrant parents and then physically separate them from their children. My immigration plan would also make sure that we put undocumented immigrants who haven't committed a serious crime on a pathway to citizenship, that we do a 21st century Marshall Plan with Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, so that we can get to the root of the challenge, so people can find safety.
You want to see what happens?
Slot machine. I'm going to give them gang bucks.
That's how we can be
new guns. Oh my God, it's
and
going to
more
be great.
humane when it comes to immigration policy.
Thank you,
Oh my
Secretary
gosh.
Castro. Senator Bennett, what's your response?
Hi, Caleb's here.
I disagree that we should decriminalize
That's
that
why you're
border.
here.
This is personal for me. My mom's an immigrant, and she was separated from her parents during the Holocaust in Poland. And for those reasons,
Christian's
I was
losing it here.
part of the Gang of Eight that I wrote the immigration bill in 2013 with John McCain that passed the Senate with 68 votes. That gave a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented
It really
people
sucks to know
that
what's
are here,
going on.
That would pass the most progressive DREAM Act that
Oh,
had ever
man.
been conceived, much less passed on the floor of the Senate, and had
All these
$46
tie
billion
knots are
of
horrible.
border security.
It's like a
Every
cylinder.
single Democrat voted for that bill,
Senator.
and a lot of Republicans.
Oh, look,
That should
suicide
be our
fuel
position.
right there with
Thank you,
you.
That is our position.
Thank you, Senator.
Don't ever
Senator
hurt
Harris,
yourself.
you have
That's a-
indicated that
it's a
you don't
joke.
think it should be
We
a
don't
criminal
advocate
offense
for legal
punishable by
reasons.
jail
That's
to
a
cross
joke.
the U.S. border illegally. How do you respond to Senator Bennett?
Well, again, with all due respect, after the last debate, for example, I went to a place in Florida called Homestead. And there is a private detention facility being paid for by your taxpayer dollars. A private detention facility that currently
Yes, she's
houses
up there.
2,700 children.
This isn't mommy?
And by the way, there were members of us.
The one in the white.
Julian was there, members
Right
of
in
Congress.
the
They
white.
would
Oh,
not
Tulsi?
let us
Mhm,
enter
yeah.
the place.
I know Tulsi.
Members of the United States Congress. So I walked down the road, I climbed a ladder, and I looked over the fence. And I'm going to tell you what I saw. I saw children lined up single file based on gender, being walked into barracks. The policies of this administration have been facilitated
never
by
mind,
laws
stop,
on the
King.
book
Thank
that
you,
allow
Senator.
them to be incarcerated as though they
King,
committed crimes.
most
Thank
of
you,
the
These
people
children
who
have
are
not
offering
committed crimes
Obamacare
and should be not
want
treated
it
like
to be
Senator Bennett, what's your
a-
response?
You don't have to buy Obamacare. You can still do
I
private
think this is
insurance.
one in the end
Obamacare
that we
2.0
agree
people,
with. There's
the
not a single
public
person
option
on
people,
this
they do
stage
just want
who,
it
if we
to
were
be an
president,
option
would
for the
ever
public.
separate
They'll
a
probably
child
bring the
from their
tax credit
parents
back
at the
though.
border.
So if you don't
And
have
that is what
insurance,
this-
it'll cost marginally
That
more
is what this
to have a tax
administration
credit put
has
against you
done
than it would to
in the
just not have
American
insurance.
people's name.
Oh.
They
But
have
you
turned
have
our
insurance.
border into a symbol of nativist hostility. The symbol of this country
Thanks,
before
Caleb.
Donald Trump was president was the Statue of Liberty. That should be the symbol of the United States of America, not Donald Trump's terrible
Thank you, Senator
border.
Bennett. Senator Joe
Good.
Biden, to bring
Give
you
me
in
them
to respond.
So
Make this
I
worth
think
my
when
time.
you talk about whether this should be a crime, you have to remember who we're talking about. When I was at the Texas border, I visited
don't
with
think it
women who had
matters.
fled violence. A woman from El
Like,
Salvador
when someone
owned a small
violates the
business.
NAP,
Gangs came to her and
I
said, if you don't give us
ask,
all your
like,
money, we're
oh,
going
well,
to kill your family.
it was
That's why
a
she
grandpa
fled.
who
Another
shot
woman was raped.
So-
That's why she fled. So
Caleb
this is
said
who
Christian
we're
is
talking about,
looking
and they're not
dashing tonight.
criminals.
You know, I think
so
Christian
I
looks
believe that
like
we
the
should
type of guy-
have a civil violation.
Oh.
No president before President Trump enforced the law
Did he see
in
that
the way
thing
he has
Ellen
enforced
chat?
it because he's
That's
using
sweet.
it as the crutch to
That
lock
another
up
couple
women
might
and
invite
children,
into their
to
room.
separate mothers and babies, to put them behind bars. So I don't think we should have a law
That was
on the
funny.
books that
Not
can be
us.
so
This is
misused.
Yeah, no, just
it should be a
inside
civil
joke.
violation, and we should make sure
Rewording,
that we treat
something
people
else that you heard.
humanely.
Oh, thank you, Senator. Vice President Biden. In the first 2 years of the
Some burn
Obama
cream for that?
administration, nearly 800,000 immigrants were deported, far more than during President Trump's first 2 years. Would the higher deportation rates resume if you're president?
Absolutely not, number one. Number two, everything landed on the president's desk but locusts. I found
Christian's
that
got his plastic bottle of
excuse
vodka.
Me, the secretary, we sat together in many meetings. I never heard him talk about any of this when he was the secretary.
More yelling.
Please be respectful. Please be respectful in the crowd. Please continue, Mr. Vice President.
Will somebody turn off their
Really?
microphones?
The fact is,
Saying we
the
need
fact
more
is-
deportation?
I don't know if you can hear, I can hear, but-
We can hear fine, Mr. Vice President. Please continue if you
The fact is, what the senator from New York talked about is seeking asylum. That woman, the women she spoke to, are
Tonight's a
entitled
clusterfuck.
to
They've been
asylum.
yelling a lot.
That is not crossing the border illegally.
This is like
what we should do
making
is
me
flood
stress
the
out.
zone to make sure
Oh,
we have
no.
people to make
Oh,
those
no.
decisions quickly.
I'm joking,
With regard
but-
to
I thrive on chaos.
I already proposed and
Caleb,
passed
check Twitter. It'll be on there in like
$750
20
million
seconds.
Yeah.
for Guatemala, El
deportation.
Salvador, and Honduras to be able to change the circumstance why people fled in the first place.
According to Christian,
In
he's
addition to
getting
that,
slaughtered
we're in
today.
a circumstance where if in
He is
fact
getting
you say you
slaughtered.
can just cross the border, what do
He's
you say
stumbling
to all
over his
those
words.
people
Kamala
around the
Harris is
world
eating him
who,
alive.
in
And
fact,
I mean, he's
want the
giving
same thing to come to the United States and make their case, but they don't, that
objectively
they have
based
to
off
wait in
of
line.
his platform.
The fact of the
He's
matter
giving
is,
the answers
you
he
should
needs to give,
be able
but
to,
it doesn't
if
matter
you cross the
because the
border
game is rigged
illegally, you
against
should
you.
be able
Yeah.
to be sent back. It's a crime. It's a crime, and it's not one that, in fact,
If he was going up
Thank you,
against
Mr. Vice
sensible
President.
people, this
Secretary
would be an
Castro, please.
effective
Yeah,
strategy.
First of all, Mr. Vice
Oh,
President,
Actually
it looks
explain
like
what
one
you're
of
gonna
us has
do.
learned the lessons of the
Clarify.
past.
So they don't
and one
actually
of us
want
hasn't.
him.
Let me begin
No,
by
they
telling
want him
you.
to say, Kamala's a poo-poo head.
Yeah.
Let me just start
That's
out
what
by
he needs
answering
to
that
say,
question.
to win.
My immigration
Then he'll get
plan
called
would also
racist.
fix the
So,
broken
right.
legal
Right.
immigration system because we
agree.
do have a problem with that.
Rigged.
Secondly, the only way that we're going to
really
guarantee
good idea.
that these kinds of family
Something to
separations don't happen in the
Megaphone.
future
Megaphone.
is that we need to repeal this law. There's still going to be consequences if somebody crosses the border. It's a
Yeah,
civil
he's been on
action.
twice, I think.
Also, we have 654 miles of fencing. We have thousands of personnel at the border.
Oh,
we have
okay.
He's the only
planes,
one I
we
really
have
know.
boats, we have helicopters, we have security
Secretary
cameras.
Castro,
What we
thank you.
need are politicians
Your time
that
is
actually
up.
have some guts on this issue.
Thank you, Secretary. Mr. Vice President, please, your response.
I have to ask.
I
what are
have
they
guts
talking
enough to
about?
say his plan
Still
doesn't make
healthcare?
sense. Here's the deal.
Is it still
The fact
healthcare?
of the matter is that, in fact, when people cross the border illegally,
Oh, okay, we're
it
talking
is
borders.
illegal to do it unless
don't
they're
know,
seeking
King.
asylum.
I don't see
People
Biden
should have
getting the
to get
nomination.
in line. That's the problem. And the only
I'm just
reason this
envisioning,
particular
like one of the
part of the law is
moderators,
being
like,
abused
open
because
field
of
tackling
Donald
one of the-
Trump.
one of the people
We
who won't
should
stop
defeat
talking.
Donald Trump and end this practice.
Thank you. Congresswoman Gabbard, what's your response?
Oh.
Our hearts break when we see those children at these detention facilities who've been separated from their parents, when we see human beings crowded into cages in abhorrent, inhumane conditions.
Hold on, wait, do I have some water?
This is about leadership and understanding that we can and should have both secure borders as well as humane
heart's
immigration
breaking. Look at
policies.
him.
We
Oh
will
my
have to
gosh.
stop separating
He's
children
standing
from
at
their
that
parents.
fence. I can
Make
picture
it so that
Christian
it's
at the
easier for
fence.
people to
Just
seek
can't help it.
asylum in this country. Make sure that we are securing our borders and making it so that people are
Couldn't
able
see
to
it
use
on
our
camera.
legal immigration
Dang.
system by reforming
Imagine
those
like
laws.
really being in a relationship
Mr.
with her
Yang,
though, and she
your
like,
response.
starts pulling that
I'm the
shit
son
out
of
you in a
immigrants
fight.
myself. My father immigrated here as a
Like,
graduate
never
student
mind.
and generated over 65
Ray, your
U.S.
first
patents
date.
for GE and IBM.
Never mind.
I think that's a pretty good
We'll do
deal in the
whatever you wanna
United
do.
States.
Break.
That's the immigration story
Check,
we need
please.
to be telling. We can't always be focusing on some of the distressed stories. And if you go to a factory here in Michigan, you will not find wall-to-wall
Hiding.
immigrants. You will find wall-to-wall robots and machines. Immigrants are being scapegoated for issues they have nothing to do with in our economy.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
Recognition.
Senator Booker,
I do
you have a
acknowledge
plan
the
that would,
fact
quote,
that
virtually eliminate
illegal
immigration
immigration is
detention.
vastly
Does that mean that the
overblown by
roughly
Republicans as far as
55,000
its
migrants
impact on
currently in
employment?
detention would be released into
Massively
the United States?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say
your boy.
again tonight we are playing into Republican hands who have a very different view, and they're trying to divide us.
Oh my
against each
God, I
other.
told you
I'm
last
listening
time,
to
I'll
the
tell you
language
this
of my
time, dude.
colleagues.
Shut up.
No, Mr. Vice President, we are not going to just let people cross the border. An unlawful crossing is an unlawful crossing. If you do it in the civil courts, or
Yeah,
if you
you
do it
lose me
in the
when you
criminal
start saying
courts.
law.
But the criminal courts is
It's
what gives
illegal.
Donald Trump the
The fuck
ability
does that mean?
to
Sorry.
truly violate the human rights
Sorry, David.
of people coming to our country who no one surrenders their human rights.
Seriously.
And so doing it through the civil courts means
Oh,
that you
wait,
won't
so
need these
putting people in
awful
cages for a
detention
nonviolent
facilities
crime is
that I've
inherently
been to,
unethical?
seeing
Well, I guess we
children
have to change
sleeping
the
on
entire
pavement,
U.S.
people
fucking
being
justice
put in
system then.
cages, nursing mothers, small children. This this is not necessary. We have seen, using the civil system, piloted programs that have 100% compliance
happened?
with the civil courts, where
What?
people are
Christian
evaluated.
just shrunk.
If they have no justifiable
Yeah, I moved
reason
over to Cory
be
Booker so I
they
can
are
slap him.
returned. If they are, like the people I met in Juarez,
What are you doing,
who
Christian?
were survivors of sexual assault, we
You
wouldn't
stay
be
still.
able to come and present for
thought I
asylum.
locked
We
you.
are
I must have unlocked
butchering
you.
our values and making ourselves.
Get back in the water,
Mr.
sheep.
Vice President, your response.
I agree with the
White
senator.
Lodge.
The asylum process is a real process, and this president is ruining it. It has nothing to do with that section of
We
the
need to
law.
fix our life.
That's what he's
Look at
doing, number
Christian's
one.
all
Number
looks
two,
normal
we
colored,
should, in
and I'm
fact, and we have
washed out,
proposed
like-
and we tried to get past in our administration, I proposed, significantly increasing the number of legal immigrants who are able to come. This country can tolerate
not-
a heck of a lot more
Soylent is
people. And the
not
reason we're the
forgiving.
country we are is we've been able to cherry pick from the best of every culture. Immigrants built this country. That's why we're so special.
not more
It took
light.
courage. It took resilience.
More white
It took
light?
absolute confidence from them to come. And we should be encouraging
Thank you.
people. And by the way, anybody who crosses the stage with a PhD should get a green card for 7 years. We should keep them here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Governor Inslee, what's your response?
What was I doing?
I think we're missing
Oh,
two
he's fixing
central
Christian.
No, he's
statements we
fixed.
need
He's fine.
to make.
No, he's
Number
too-
one, we can no longer
shoulder's
allow
missing.
a white nationalist to be in the White House. Number
Whoa.
one. And number two,
That's inflammatory.
Number two, we have to make America what it's always been, a place of refuge. We got to boost
Make
the
America
number of
great
people
again?
we accept. I'm proud of being the first governor saying, send us your Syrian
Can't
refugees.
say it,
Carrie,
though.
there
I'm
you
proud to have
go.
been the first governor to stand up against Donald Trump's Muslim ban. I'm proud to have sued him 21 times and beat him 21 times in a row. I'm ready for November 2020.
Go ahead, Mayor de Blasio, please, your response.
2 points. One, it's all kind of a charade because there's 11 million people here, and everyone in theory has broken the
This
law,
guy.
but they're part of our communities now. They're part of our
Stay.
economy. They're our neighbors.
Christian.
Why are we even discussing on one
guy,
level
just something about
whether it's a
him.
civil penalty or a criminal
11
penalty
million.
when it's an American reality? And what we need is comprehensive immigration reform once and for all to fix it. Second, Vice President Biden, I didn't hear your response when the issue came up of all those deportations. You were Vice President of the United States. I didn't hear whether
like
you
the
tried
screen
to
cuts
stop
'cause
them
it
or
looks like
not,
they're just
using
staring
your
Staring
power
right
and
at
your
each
influence
other,
in the
yeah.
White House.
Like almost
Did you
nose to
think it was a
nose.
good idea, or do you think it was something that needed to be stopped?
Mr.
The
Vice
president
President.
came
Almost like it
along,
could get
and he's the
romantic.
guy that came up with the idea, first time ever, of dealing with the Dreamers. He put that in the law. He had talked about a comprehensive plan, which he laid before the Congress, saying that we should find a pathway to citizenship for people. He said we should up the number of people that we're able to bring into this country. Lastly, he also pointed out that we should go
I'd
to
take
the source
Obama
of the
again
problem
over any
and
of these
fix it
people.
where people were leaving in the first place. So he did, to compare him to Donald Trump, I think is absolutely
Hell, on a
bizarre.
lot of issues,
Thank
I'd
you
take
very much,
Obama
Mr. Vice
over
President.
Trump.
Congresswoman Gabbard,
Really?
you are a co-sponsor of the College
Really?
for All Act, which would make public colleges and universities free
These
for all
people,
Americans.
these last
One
4
of the
years,
authors of
make
that
Obama
plan,
look
Senator
real
Sanders, believes
good.
college should be tuition-free for undocumented immigrants as well. Do you?
I don't pay enough attention, honestly.
I don't.
Really know.
I think it's important for us to fix our legal
Tulsi's
immigration
fine.
system and look at the millions of undocumented immigrants in this
Yeah, we
country
still have our bump
who have been
stocks if
suffering
Obama
as
was
they've
president.
been living in the shadows. And instead of putting a Band-Aid
I
on
forgot to
this
get one of
problem,
those.
fix our legal immigration system to
but
provide
Christian,
them with
Obama
that
is the
pathway to
devil.
legal
Yeah.
residency or citizenship so that they're no longer
I'm just
treated
being honest.
as second-class
Like,
citizens
you don't
in
have
this
to
country.
like it, but
We've got to look at
being
the
honest.
challenge that
She's-
people all across
I
this country are
100% would.
facing under
Not saying I'd vote for
crushing
him, but
student
I'd be
debt.
less sad.
This is something that is impacting my generation in a huge way, and I believe that it is our generation
Marginally
that has
less
the
sad.
bold, creative solutions to be able to solve it. This
Fucking
is about
Christian.
promise for our future, and we've got to make those kinds of investments.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Mayor de
Why do
Blasio,
you keep
what's your
clicking
response?
things?
Yeah,
No, I wasn't doing anything. I even have
the
your-
Congress
your
member, but I
thing
don't
locked.
hear an answer from the Vice President. I'm confused. I asked the Vice President point blank, did he use
Christian's
his power to stop those deportations? He went right around the question. Mr. Vice President, you want to be President of the United States, you need to be able to answer the tough questions. I guarantee you, if you're debating Donald Trump, he's not going to let you off the hook. So did you say those deportations were a good idea? Or did you go to the president and say, this is a mistake, we shouldn't do it? Which one?
I was vice president. I am not the president. I keep my recommendation in private. Unlike you, I expect you would go ahead and say whatever was said privately with him. That's not what I do. What I do say to you is he moved to fundamentally change the system.
Yeah, Bert says
That's what
Obama
he
was
did.
largely useless.
That's
That's
but
half the reason
much
why I love
more
him. And a lot of
has
the
to be
things he
done.
did do was
Much more has to
like,
be
he
done.
did a lot of little
Senator Booker,
things that
please
were actually
respond.
kind of
Well,
like
couple
good
things. First of all,
for just
Mr.
like
Vice
normal
President, you can't
Americans.
have it both ways. You invoke
like killing
President
copyright
Obama more than
trolls.
anybody
That
in
was
this
fucking
campaign. You
amazing.
can't do it when it's convenient and then dodge it when it's not. And the second thing, and this really irks me because I heard the Vice President say that, if you got a PhD, you can come right into this country. Well, that's playing into what the Republicans want, to pit some immigrants against other immigrants. Some are from shithole
Competition is a
countries,
good thing.
and
Did
some
you
are
just
from
say
worthy
what?
countries.
We're separating and dividing
We need to reform this
the
whole
immigrants.
immigration system
Did
and
you
begin
say
to be the
shithole?
country that says
Countries?
everyone has worth
Did he?
and dignity, and this should be a country that
He said
honors
it.
for everyone.
I mean,
don't
okay,
let
I'm
the
just going to be that
Republicans
guy.
divide
You
this
can be
party
mad at me if
against
you want.
itself.
Not,
Senator,
no.
thank you.
I am
The fact
100% a
is,
believer that
that's
not
what I
all
said about
people
this country.
are
We
created
are a country
equally.
of
Not to say that everyone doesn't
all of
deserve
us.
the same rights.
All of us.
Yeah.
Some
Right.
of them came against their will.
You're going to have a real
Others
hard
came
time
because they,
convincing
in
me
fact,
that a
thought they could
well-accomplished
fundamentally
engineer
change
is
their
not
lives.
somehow more
And they
valuable
did.
than
the statute
a
of send
Kroger
us your.
bagger.
That's what
You
we're
know?
talking about. That's what made us great. And the fact of the matter
guess
is,
you guys probably
I
don't
think
have
the President of the
Kroger's,
United States,
Costco,
Barack Obama,
you know?
went out of his way to try to change the system, and
Trump
he got
has them
pushed
swearing at
back
each other.
significantly.
Senator Gillibrand, what's your response?
I'm going to need a
Again,
minute. Some
President
words were
Trump,
said.
under his administration, 7 children died in his custody. Under his administration, families have been torn apart. This party is talking about
We don't
real
have a
ideas for the
Costco.
future.
We have Sam's
We're talking
Club.
about what we will do to change America. But we must not forget about our values. We used to believe in this country you should treat others the way you want to be treated. We used to believe in this country we should care about the least among us. Let's remind the American people who we are, why we are Democrats, and why we're running for president.
Senator Gillibrand,
She
thank
wasn't
you
paying
very much.
attention.
The debate will be back right after this short break.
Whoa, Christian moved again.
Christian.
We know it's not your fault, but Dave likes to pretend that you're moving around.
Get back in your corner, Christian.
Oh,
Are you watching
man,
the
this-
PewDiePie
yeah, this is a
Minecraft series?
this is an interesting journey.
See, I can't